Welcome back!
Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in to our WICOR Part 2. My name is Dr. Stephanie Bain de los Santos, and I work at Texas A&M University Kingsville in Kingsville, Texas, where I serve as the AVID liaison as well as a lecturer.
Hi, and I'm Nicole Morris, and I'm also a lecturer at Texas A&M University Kingsville, teaching communications and journalism. As Stephanie said, this is Part 2 of WICOR, and we will be focusing today on collaboration, organization, and reading.
So you can apply these strategies that you're learning today in your face-to-face and online classrooms.
Yes. So stay tuned for Part 2 of WICOR.
Thanks!
Thank you. So thank you for staying with us for Part 2 of our WICOR training. We are going to start off with the C in WICOR for collaboration, which of course is teamwork with a shared responsibility. You want your students to be able to come together and share their ideas and information and their opinions in a formal and an informal way. So you want them to engage with one another, not just with you.
Right. So students who collaborate work together towards a common goal, develop positive interdependence, work in focused study groups, and support the learning of others through inquiry. And collaborate is different than just group work. With collaborative groups, everybody has a role. Everyone has a piece of the pie, if you will, some sort of ownership. And so as we talk about this today, we're going to show you ways that you can make sure that everybody is doing what they need to do in class so you can assess properly.
So there are various activities that you can use in your classrooms to encourage collaboration, peer-to-peer collaboration. Those include Socratic seminars, philosophical chairs, things like jigsaw activities. Service learning projects are also collaborative in nature, and you can even have your study groups be more collaborative rather than just the typical quizzing one another or comparing notes. So there's different ways in which you can encourage collaboration in the classroom amongst your students.
So jigsaw is something that we were going to model if this was a synchronous or a face-to-face training, but as always you can use our links to check out yourself what you think about them. But with a jigsaw, each piece, each student's part is essential for the completion and full understanding of the final product. So with a jigsaw, a short overview is where each person in there has a role. Let's just say that you're giving them a journal article to read, and you assign everyone in the group a number. So then you break out into groups by the numbers, assign this section to read or whatever you are assigning, have that small group, so let's just say all the number ones get together and they talk and they discuss. Same thing with 2, 3, 4. After that's completed, then you go back to, the students go back to their original groups, in which student number 1, 2, 3, 4 are back in their original groups, and they are the expert of that section. So each one has a role to teach the group. Then after that, the group can then take notes, do a short assessment, however you want to test their knowledge.
Right, and so like a jigsaw, the pieces fit together.
Yes.
Right, so the activity then can take up to 15 minutes. You can adjust that as you need to, depending on, like the example Steph gave. If you have a journal article, maybe they need a little more time to read it. Depends on the length of it. So you can adjust that.
Yes.
Organization then brings us to the O in WICOR. Of course, you want your students to be able to develop good study habits by being able to manage their materials, be able to plan for themselves and prioritize their schoolwork. Maybe they have a job also or have other responsibilities. So it's important for them to be able to mentally prepare themselves and set goals from themselves. So you want them to engage in these activities in the classroom that they can then apply to all other areas of their life. So basically, organization then helps them to be responsible for their own learning as well as being able to organize themselves in their own life.
So students who organize, they develop and use processes, procedures, and tools to study effectively. They manage their time through prioritizing and goal setting. They're prepared for courses, participate during instruction, and interact with instructors. And they're self-direct, self-evaluate, self-monitor, and they are their own advocate. You may also hear it termed as student-led classroom. That's where you really want to get. When you use WICOR, when you're getting your students involved, you want to get to this point where it really is student-led. That takes the pressure off you as an instructor, as a teacher, and it also gives them a sense of ownership in what they're learning.
Right. Mm-hmm. So there are different tools that you can use to help your students be more organized. Of course, you can use binders or e-binders, calendars and planners, different graphic organizers. It's actually not unusual, even at the college level, for some instructors to take up students' notebooks to check that they're taking notes, right? And have their binders organized in a particular way. So you do still have that happening even at the college level. And of course, another way to help them be organized is to go back to those Cornell notes, right? The focused note-taking system is also a way to ensure that they are organizing their notes as well as helping organize their own thoughts. You can encourage tutorials and study groups. And also, one thing that can help a student be organized right from the start of the semester is to have them plan for the semester by setting some goals for themselves, by utilizing the SMART goals.
So what are SMART goals? They're specific, meaningful, action-oriented, realistic, and timely. So you can use these at the beginning of the semester. You could use this at the beginning of a project, of a unit, of a chapter, to have them set those goals for that specific topic, or if you want to relate it towards a personal, like as a holistically their goals, you can do that as well.
Right. So back to binders. Those are, of course, are an essential part of what AVID teaches and encourages teachers to use to help students remain organized in their classrooms. Of course, you want them to make sure that they are complete and that they are neatly compiled, and to make sure, again, it's not unusual to use these in college, to pick them up and check them periodically as a way to make sure that they are organizing their notes and following up with the coursework.
You might have heard of foldables. Foldables are a really good activity. You might, the composition notebooks, if y'all remember those, that's another way you can utilize organization in your classroom. But however you do that, make sure that it's very clear, the directions on how students need to do, and you as the instructor must follow through to check those binders or composition notebooks.
Oh, yes.
Or they will not follow through on that.
They won't follow through. No, not at all. So that brings us to the R of WICOR, reading. Of course, reading is very important, of course, for anybody at all stages of life. You should always be reading because it encourages, growth of knowledge. So, of course, reading is strategically used to gain meaning, understanding, and knowledge from print and other media. Reading is purpose-driven, and it can be interactive.
Yes. Students who read understand text structures, apply prior knowledge, and make connections to other text, themselves, and the world. They make predictions and ask questions and create visual images as they read. And we really wanted to put this in here so you know, man, these are the benefits of reading for these students. It's not just our content, our classroom. You're creating a well-rounded citizen, if you will, an employee for the real world. So that's what's pretty amazing.
And this ties back to the I in WICOR of the inquiry. If you want them to be able to make predictions and ask questions and get to that level 3, they have to be reading, right? They have to have a base of knowledge to draw from to be able to do that.
Absolutely. So with reading, and today specifically, we're going to talk just a little bit about marking the text, but these are some of the strategies that incorporate reading, note-taking, graphic organizers. It helps with their vocabulary, summarizing, and reciprocal teaching, and of course marking the text. So I think a lot of times when we're teaching, we just assume students know how to mark a text.
No.
And they don't.
They don't. Well, because let's be realistic, a lot of times before they get to college, students don't even have a textbook anymore.
That's true.
Right.
Oh my gosh, yes. So they don't number paragraphs, they don't circle key terms, and they're certainly not underlining the author's claims and other relevant information.
And if they do, you'll notice that they'll have a highlighter in hand to highlight the most important information that they're reading, and they've highlighted the whole page, right? And so they're not making
those connections,
strong connections with the text when they do that. Mm-hmm.
So if we were going to do this a face-to-face, I could totally steal our idea. That's why we have it on here. We would do just a general question of, if we were teaching our student teachers, should there be standardized testing? And do you believe students transitioning from high school to college are prepared for the rigor of college? So 30 minutes, it's a wonderful, wonderful activity. So you would give the students a journal article or some sort of literature to read. Then they can mark the text, come up with their own opinions, and then we do this wonderful activity of philosophical chairs. I'd like you all to maybe Google a video of philosophical chairs. This is just a very short extension of what this would be. And again, this is just generalization of what reading is. Nicole and I are going to do some in the future, modeling some classroom activities. So maybe we could do philosophical chairs as one and post that on the YouTube channel.
Essentially, the philosophical chairs combines really all of the elements of WICOR, because they've written out their own thoughts, they've read the article, they've organized their thoughts, right? They've put some thought process, right?
Yes.
And, they check their own inquiries, right? And then they're going to collaborate with one another to share their opinions and have a conversation about what they drew from the text. So that also puts them at that level 3 of inquiry.
Absolutely. So to sum up, why WICOR? WICOR is proven, and it's for any content area. Teachers who WICORize guide students to deeper comprehension and increasing skill levels, choose WICOR strategies appropriate to the content and skill objectives of their content area. And students who WICORize actively work with new information in order to think, talk, write, read, and ask questions, leading to long-term learning. And finally, students develop skills and attitudes that will serve them well in post-secondary life.
And I would argue even beyond.
Yes.